Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alleycat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a Connect the Dot, an Epiphany, a Mind Explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description of this video. Alleycat Creations211 is where.com is where you can find all my artwork, pyramids. I make epoxy pyramids, paintings. I do candles, make them. And I do hyper realistic pencil drawings. So I do portraits. Sorry, my Shubin resonance today is off the charts. Um and life is just, I'm done. Um You can also help me out. I have a 3D membership, and hopefully on Friday I can show what I chosen to be raffled, which will be a gem skull. I just haven't had the energy to tap in too well because my energies are off. But on Friday, I hope tomorrow, Friday, I will show you guys, and then channel members get a free entry into that raffle that I will tell you the date in March where I'm going to hold that raffle, and ways that you can enter if you're not a channel member. So channel members get that, and they also get oracle readings, channel member only videos. So consider supporting my work in that way. I only have one tier, so minimal. And yeah, hi. Schumann is going crazy, and I'm going to go over it tomorrow. Before I get into the voice of Isis, let me see if I can screenshot that. Okay. We're kind of calming down in the moment. I have a lot going on in my personal life with my job, a lot of concerns, and I am trying to get legal counsel because I think whatever happens between now and April is going to determine a lot that's going to happen in my life. And I have to make some decisions really quick, but I need counsel legally first to know where I stand, if I should be getting another job or keep this job, but get legal documentation written up. So there's just all this crap that I should not be dealing with, but I have no choice. I got my trusty coffee here, and I'm gonna do what I love to do and get to my highest excitement because that's what brings me joy. Chapter 12. Power. Power. So far, the voice of Isis has been phenomenal, and I can only imagine what this chapter is going to do. I just have to increase the size because I'm blind, getting there. Quote, alas, alas, that all men should possess alaya, divine essence, be one with the great soul, and that, possessing it, alaya should so little avail them. End quote. The voice of the silence, Blavatsky, fragment 2. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. End quote. 2 Timothy. Man is made in the image of God. This image, however, is not the corporeal likeness of a personal God, for God has no personality which can be imitated. But if we take God to mean that supreme power which is sent forth from the absolute, and through whose many manifestations all things are brought forth, then we must recognize that this God must have all power. It is in the image of this all power that man is made. Jesus, who stands as a symbol of perfected man, said, "All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth." If this be true of the highest type of man, it is potentially true of all men, for all power is given unto men because he is created in the image of God. Although in most men this power is latent because man is the aggregate, has not yet come into his birthright at one mint with his Father in heaven or higher self. Ding, ding, ding. Chicken dinner winner. Chicken dinner winner. Sorry. The omnipotent powers of God operate through intelligent centers of power in the manifested universe. And to make it possible for perfected men to have all power in heaven and in earth, and to fulfill the prophecy that he shall become as one of us, the gods. These centers of power must have their more or less active reflections in man, for man is truly the microcosm of the macrocosm. All the lower kingdoms have certain powers, but only man has the powers of the Godhead, with which, when he manifests them as his own, he can create the new heaven and the new earth of the apocalypse, wherein dwelleth righteousness. When man awakes to a realization that all power is heaven, and in earth, or latent within himself, in heaven the powers of the Godhead, in earth the powers of all creatures and all nature, he will begin to reclaim his lost heritage, lost only in the sense of his having deserted it. I say this all the time, but it's to mention the dropping of chickens here. Have to. In most Eastern teachings, we find hints of these wondrous powers and are told that they represent steps of which each candidate for mastery must laboriously climb. The Western world is awakening to the use of some of these powers, especially the powers to control disease and dominate environment. The powers of man are 6 in number, synthesized in a seventh, the astral light of Officius Levi, and correspond to the 7 principles of man. Each power has its seat in a certain sacred center in the body. These 7 centers, each with its 7 subsidiary centers, are sometimes called the 49 crucified saviors, signifying that the vital power of these centers is at present misused and crucified. In they can become man's saviors. They must be resurrected from the tomb of matter and made to function in a higher state. They are called the 49 fires because their light guides men to Superman. These powers are 1, the supreme power, Para Shakti. 2, the power of intellect, Janae. I'm not even going to attempt that. 3, the power of the will. 4, the power of thought. 5, the power of life principle. And 6, the power of speech. Each power is an emanation from one of the Elohim, hence must be reflected in man to make him the image of God. For God, like the white light, is passing through the prism of matter, manifests in a 7-fold manner. Each power has its positive and negative aspects, and until we can correlate with the positive ray of its progenitor, we are buffeted by its negative aspect. It is impossible to consider these powers separately, for without this, the cultivation of all, none can be truly operative. The supreme power is the power which man has of correlating with divinity through the breath. All his creatures breathe, and we are accustomed to say that breath is life. And ordinarily, when man ceases to breathe, he ceases to live objectively. But man alone, because he can bring his other powers to bear upon it, can make the breath more than the mere drawing in a physical life. Within the auric zone of the earth, There are many subtle forces unknown to science and barely mentioned by even the deeper students of mysticism, because so sacred, so potent, and so powerful that their very names must scarce be whispered. Breath, combined with will and thought, is the power by which man reaches up to the higher worlds and opens an avenue through which these potent forces may reach his inner self and lift him above mundane things, and at the same time regenerate his physical body. There are those who, holding the thought of health, breath for physical health, and obtain it, but it is possible to use the breath to obtain far more than mere physical health. Its misuse or negative aspect can also bring disasters undreamed of by the pseudo-occultists. Realize that you are responsible for every breath that you breathe, for through the breath you are spending either God, love, or disease. It is commonly thought that the outgoing breath contains a virulent poison, and so if you permit it, or it carries off certain efflua from the decaying atoms within you. Are you willing to be a source of infection? If this is your will and your thought, then it is what you become. What the breath is foul. You are abusing your body. It is sick and out of order. It is within your power to be healthy, to be a source of inspiration and life to all. For health and life and love are as infectious as their opposites. Therefore, every time you become conscious of it, use your power of the breath to breathe in divine love, to breathe in spiritual life, that it shall so cleanse and transmute your physical atoms that your breath, sorry guys, that's the dyslexia in me, shall become as that of a little child. Mind or intellect should not be confused with the power of thought. The human mind is the reflection in man of the great universal mind. The divine ideation, or what some call cosmic consciousness, it is the vehicle through which thought operates. In man, mind manifests in a threefold manner: the subconscious or animal mind, the conscious or human mind, and the superconscious or divine mind. The subconscious mind is composed of the consciousness of every cell, organ, and nerve ganglia, synthesized and overshadowed by the animal soul. A reflection or shadow of this power can be traced in all the kingdoms, even those in which it is still latent, and which have no power of thought. Being the mind of the animal soul, it is below the consciousness of the human reincarnating ego. To its control are regulated all those functions which operate without man's conscious control: respiration, circulation, secretion, excretion. But when these functions are deranged beyond the power of the subconscious to restore, it appeals to the human consciousness for aid through pain or discomfort, and man becomes aware that something is wrong. The subconscious mind is the vehicle of the passions and desires normal to the animal soul, in which it seeks to gratify, but which must be controlled and directed to their highest uses by the will of the human ego. This lower or animal mind functions through centers in the medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, and also in the solar plexus and other nerve ganglia containing gray matter. When these centers are upset by inharmony or the baser emotions, fear, hate, envy, jealousy, sorrow, the functions controlled by them are inhibited or perverted, and the physical, mental, and moral health suffers. While if they are stimulated by peace, tranquility, and harmony, or exalted by joy and love, their normal functions are activated or increased with corresponding welfare of the whole organism. Habits are the result of training the subconscious mind to act in a certain way. Most vague and illogical dreams are the result of the subconscious mind wandering about in the astral world during the absence of the human ego from the body during sleep, and therefore without its guidance or supervision. Hence, it is comparatively easy to train the subconscious mind not to wander so that only the spiritual lessons given by the higher self through symbolic visions or logical, well-remembered dreams will be brought back to the walking consciousness. For the above, we will see that we should treat the subconscious mind as well as the body as a good and faithful servant, but should not look to it for a higher degree of intelligence than we could expect from the highest animal, and certainly should never look to it for guidance in moral or spiritual problems. The conscious or human mind, manas, is the consciousness of the human reincarnating ego inhabiting the body and limited by its faculties. It functions through the cortex of the brain, through whose centers it controls the subconscious. It is the great battleground where the ego is influenced from below by the animal mind and from above by the divine mind, yet having free will to choose its own course of action. It is called lower or higher manas, according as it identifies itself with the desires of the animal mind or the desires of the Father in heaven. Its characteristic is self-consciousness, the feeling of I am I. The following are some of the manifestations when placed under the influence or control of material conditions. A, the power of the mind in interpreting our sensations. B, its power in recalling past ideas, memory, and raising future expectation. C, its power as exhibited in what are called by modern psychologists the laws of association, which enables it to form persistent connections between various groups of sensations and possibilities of sensations, and thus generate the notion of idea of an external object. D, its power in connecting our ideas together by the mysterious link of memory, and thus generating the notion of self and individuality. The following are some of its manifestations when liberated from the bonds of matter. A, clairvoyance. B, psychometry. They're on it, but I would just go. Obviously this was written in 1920, maybe earlier. So I would mature a lot of this, but it's on it for the time frame that it was written in. On it. The superconscious or divine mind is a mind of the higher self or Father in heaven, one with God. This divine consciousness overshadows the human mind, much as a human overshadows the subconscious. It is from the source that the higher guidance called conscious and intuition comes, and its voice is often mistaken for the voice of some divine being or master. It functions through the pineal gland and pituitary body located in the middle of the brain. The power of will is truly a godlike one, for it enables man to follow the will of God, or setting up his own will to follow his own desires in opposition to the will of God, or the great law of good. If God's were merely reflected in or imposed upon man, he would of necessity have to follow that will, which would then be not a power given him to use as he would, but a letting string, which he must flow. Man alone has free will. The animals are subject to the will of the entity governing the group soul of their species. An animal acts because of instinct, not because of free will. Man, through his power of will, can reach up into the world of divine mind and bring to him as the power of mind, or he can gravel with the beasts in the world of desire, and by his superior powers intensify its evils. See, I just don't talk out of my booty. I don't. Thus, it is that in a world created by a God of love, man has the power to create evil. Will is a power bestowed upon man, for the use of which man alone is responsible. He is not a mere puppet, forced to follow the will of God. Thought is the power by which man creates images or molds, within which divine ideation manifests, while imagination is the power by which he comprehends the subjective ideal, the outer semblance of which may come into objective manifestation through thought. For instance, a painter may, in imagination, comprehend ideal love, but he must use thought to mold the details in his effort to represent it on canvas. Psychology says that every thought tends to express itself in terms of muscular activity, unless counteracted by a more powerful thought of opposite character. I'm getting highly big downloads. Sorry, guys. Thus, through the powers of thought, man creates his world. I say this all the time. Sorry. Or as the Bible expresses it, as he thinketh in his heart, so he is he. And because of this mold making power, that which is representedly thought of will ultimately manifest. If we think continually of ourselves as poor or sick or unhappy, we are making it more possible for poverty, sickness, and unhappiness to manifest. In fact, we are creating a mold into which they must flow. Conversely, if we think of peace, plenty, health, and happiness, they are just a certain manifestation. They are just certain to manifest. Thought manifests in a dual way. It is the middle principle of together with mind and breath, can be used to draw inspiration from the divine, or it can be dragged down and made to waste its force or trivials self-pity. Sorry guys, my brain isn't functioning today. When you recognize its power to make when you recognize its power to make images or molds into which the life forces naturally flow and shape themselves and become objective, it is not to be wondered at that if wasted on every ache and pain or poverty, troubles or petty worries, they grow apace and become objective. And as we can see, my brain is not processing shit properly because I am highly stressed because third dimensional consequences can happen when you don't know the ins and outs of certain things. And of course, in my circumstances, I wrote these circumstances. I wrote these circumstances to go through them for experience for some stupid reason, and I'm calling out my higher self and kicking it swiftly in the ass for signing up for such shit. I get it, but I have healed my health. I don't think in terms of poverty. I am trying to portray myself more professionally in dress. I'm trying to carry myself with a higher vernacular of understanding. I'm not putting the frequency out too much, but you have to be logical too. Like that's how people get in trouble financially when they just willy-nilly about life and not worry but nothing comes of that and they're trying to manifest great things and yet negative things keep occurring. It's a cycle. There's a lot more that goes into the thinking and the transmutation that goes on in your mind. Of course we don't want to focus on aches and pains and poverty or lack. But I know when my tummy is rumbling and I don't feel good, but I look at my refrigerator and go, holy shit, I don't have anything to eat. That becomes a what the hell? I'm not trying to think poverty. I'm working. I'm trying to aspire for better. And the cosmic world has just said, F you. So I'm just giving you my circumstances to equate with this. And anybody can do their own equating with their problems and I mean, real life happens. You have a 3D life for a reason. It's not something to ignore. So It's just something to put into the landscape of your mind that if you have these emotions or these negative termed words popping up, themes, cycles, transmute them the best as you can. I'm trying to transmute. I'm looking at different avenues. It's not like I'm sitting here idly by, like willing away. It's just, how do I get over this hump? And what do I do about it? And that's stuff that you guys should be questioning too, with your own circumstances in life. The power of life principle is a magnetodynamic force which correlates man with nature and through which he either dominates it or is dominated by it. It works in nature to readjust and harmonize spirit and matter. It is the power of rhythm, the power of all forces which take a serpentine path. Frequently, persons say they know a storm is coming by their aches and pains, and we know that all animals are warned by the same power to protect themselves from the approaching storm. In man, this power is far more than a common consciousness with nature, for by it, if he wills so to be, he is literally the ruler of nature or the Lord of creation. It is through this power that he impresses his state of development upon the cosmos. When storms, earthquakes, tidal waves, volcanoes, or catastrophes of other kinds take place, many say, behold the work of God. How insignificant is man? This is false. God never made a storm or earthquake or a catastrophe of any kind, for God is the great law of love. They are all evidences of man's power. Had man never sent out evil thoughts, wicked words, blasphemies, and curses, the earth's aura could never be so charged with destructive forces that a catastrophe was necessary to dissipate them and bring about equilibrium. Truth. Had man never exercised demoniacal cruelty to his brother man, neither the animate nor inanimate worlds would be at an enmity with him. When a cataclysm takes place, instead of saying that man is but a helpless atom before the manifestations of nature, we should say, behold how powerful is man. For it is by the misuse of the power of the life principle exercised through free will that man has brought suffering and destruction into a world created by love. So it is with man's body, unless it has been purified through love and spiritual aspiration, this power of the life force, which in ordinary man is almost dormant, will bring about readjustments in his body comparable to earthquakes and cyclones. Therefore, to meditate upon this force or its center in the body and strive to rouse it into activity is extremely dangerous, for such practices have been known to cause insanity and instant death. The disciples said of Jesus, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and the seas obey him? This indicates what perfected man can do when he uses his powers according to the law of love. To overcome fear is the first step on the path, for fear can be conquered only by love. If fear were conquered absolutely, man learned to correlate his powers with God love, conditions would be far worse than today, for even fear is the servant of God. Fear is a paralyzing and disintegrating force. And if we were not that, the catastrophes caused by man's disobedience engendered fear, the mistakes of man would become a solid wall of darkness, shutting him away from God. Fear is continually working as a great disintegrator, in reality, helping the force of evil created by man, which is like a mesmic mist, to precipitate and exhaust its power upon the earth in form of storms and catastrophes, and in human body as sickness, disease, and death. Instead of accumulating indefinitely, when mankind learns the law of love, fear will have no more work to do and will cease to appall man at every step. God did not give men fear. Man himself brought it into manifestation. From another aspect, fear fear is love perverted. In one sense, fear is the angel of the flaming sword guarding the entrance to Eden. Eden being a perfected earth and a perfected physical body, with its trees bearing every manner of fruit good for man, his powers. It was the tree which grew in the midst of the garden, or this kundalini or serpentine force, which functions in the spinal column, that provide man's undoing. Only when this force is mastered and fear vanquished can man re-enter Eden. Cultivate the trees and eat of the fruit thereof as a faithful husbandman. To conquer fear, you must resolutely use all your powers to create good. For as long as you create evil, you must have fear to help disintegrate and dissipate it. Beware of fear that spreadeth like the black and soundless wings of midnight bat, between the moonlight of the soul and the great goal that loometh in the distance far away. Fear, O disciple, kills the will and stays all action. The path that leadeth on, it's lighted by one fire, the light of daring burning in the heart. The more one dares, the more he shall obtain. The more he fears, the more that light shall pale, and that alone can guide. Dare, do, keep silent. Become one with the silence in which all forces are potent. Speech is one of the greatest powers, for it includes the powers of sound, number, color, and when written, form. We are all more or less familiar with the power of sound, both in the spoken word and in the chanting of mantra. One who masters this power has the world at his feet. This is illustrated to a slight degree by the ease with which an eloquent speaker can sway an audience. In this chapter, but a hint can be given, for it would require a separate lesson to even outline this subject. The point of development each soul has reached is revealed in the tones of the voice, just as nature tones indicate nature's stage of evolution. We may carefully control our words and manner of expression, but the tones of the voice will reveal the true feeling back of the words. This inner attitude is quickly recognized, especially by children and animals. In fact, tone is the keynote of man's power over the animal kingdom, for by the tone he either arouses enmity or love and obedience. The spoken word can never die, but will go on working out the potency and power not only of its tone, but also its color, number, and form, and thought pictures created by it in the minds of its hearers. Together with the power of the will, which send it forth, every word and tone spoken by man is registered upon the etheric substance of the Akashic records. This principle has been demonstrated and its truth verified in a physical way in the phonograph. Speech is the first power for man to master as a medium through which all his powers may be made operative on earth. It is that before the voice can speak in the presence of the masters, it must have lost the power to wound. To speak in the presence of the masters means speaking as a master, or that the spoken word will carry with it mastery of conditions. To bring your mind some of the practical effects of this power, we would ask you for one day to note carefully the effect your words have on those about you. Geez Louise. Many peoples ask for something practical to do to develop occult powers and manifest a higher life. Noting the effect of your words is practical and most important, and a practice which can be indulged in without fear of dangerous consequences. And until at least some conception of the power of speaking kindly and lovingly, but to some purpose and some degree of mastery over it has been obtained, the development of all other occult powers will be retarded, if not actually prevented. God spake the word, and the world was created. Man speaks one little word, and a new world of gladness is created in his brother's life. Or man speaks a word, and a brother is disheartened and gives up the fight. or a sister's good name is taken from her and she is pushed out into the darkness, is pushed down under the feet of the multitude. Think what one kind word can do, how it can bring sunshine and peace and courage into your own life and the lives of others. Waste no force in frivolous or negative chatter. Speak only positive words, words of love, words of power. If your brother offends you, speak words of love that your heart may send back nothing but love. Never withhold a sincere word of love or endearment or a word of help, encouragement, or health. A kind word spoken even to a stray dog will not return to you void. Know well that until you have mastered this power and can speak words of health, strength, cheer, courage, and love, you will be better. Follow the injunction, let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For remember well, whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. The meaning of this is that any unkind, boastful, or untrue word is bound to return for you to prove and adjust, probably just when you think you have conquered. Be especially careful in regard to written words. When the world begins to understand this power, there will be fewer misleading statements sent out under the guise of occult teaching, which become snares and wills to mislead those who are seeking enlightenment. We cannot emphasize too strongly this fact that every idle word, either spoken or written, that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. As to how to attain and use these powers, they are yours now. They are in constant activity, and unless consciously directed toward the unification of mankind in God love, they are adding their force in the misery of life, both in your own body and in the whole cosmos. Hence, there is but one thing to do: realize that God is love, and that love is the one great law of all life, manifesting in you in this sevenfold path of power. If this realization seems difficult, set to work at it in earnest. Repeat it to yourself again and again. Breathe it, vitalize it with the life principle. Think of it, will it, grasp it, embrace it upon every atom of your manifested expressions of being. And the ultimate result can only be victory. When you synthesize your six powers in the seventh, the power of becoming one in consciousness with God love, which is the power proceeding from the heart, and always spoken as the power of the diamond heart of the heart doctrine, then you can have nothing to fear, for perfect love casteth out fear. This is the power of becoming one with your higher self. Its seat is in the heart, for in the heart are centers corresponding to, and connected with all the centers. As the electric switchboard may be connected with many substations, therefore, by cultivating the heart qualities and dwelling in peace and love, you can awaken and dominate all the centers and make their cultivation easier. My allergies, I can't. This is not some far off possibility. For the instant you synthesize all your powers in the heart and seek to subvert your life and action to the law of love, you are one in aim with the higher self, and the higher self will manifest more and more through you. Then will there be no death, for death will be swallowed up in victory. You have nothing to fear, for you are all powerful. You have but to direct your powers in accord with the universal law of God, which is love. Look around you and see the evil man's powers have wrought when working contrary to the law. Then think what they could accomplish if they had this great law working back of them through them. If but two or three are gathered together in my name, the Christ love, ready to believe the spoken word of power as herein delivered to you, that you are today as gods, and that all power is given unto you in heaven and in earth, if you really will to become one with the great law of love, then the regeneration of the world would quickly be accomplished. But if 7 souls, or even 3, can be gathered together and work consciously in a perfect realization of this truth, making a determined effort to work with the law. Soon, they will manifest on the earth plane a practical center of right living of such force and social magnitude that the whole earth will feel its influence, and the deplorable conditions under which the world now suffers will begin to adjust themselves. There is no use reading a lesson such as this and thinking it is mere theory, for it is more power than mere theory. It comes to you as the word of power. It says to each soul, what are you going to do about it? On which side of the battle will you fight? Into whose coffers will you pour your substance? God's or Mammon's? Choose ye this day whom ye will serve. O fearless aspirant, look deep within the well of thine own heart and answer. Knowest thou of self the powers, O thou perceiver of eternal shadows? If thou dost not, then art thou lost. That ends this section. Holy shit balls. Profound. Hard for me because I have spirit with me a lot. Sorry, get a lot of downloads. New moon, downloads, stress. Trying to sit in the love vibration and know that all is going to be okay. But I have to be logical and rational about my situation and circumstances, don't I? Great change is happening, and I don't know in what direction. I fear not, but real deal circumstances does, unravel in my life in not the greatest of ways. So I'm just living each moment as for what it is. But gosh. So I hope that was coherent enough, guys. I'm sorry if it wasn't. This was a profound chapter. I say everything that they have said, just different verbiage. This is a validating book. I've been saying this stuff for years. I never read this book. This is the first time I'm reading it with you. So there's some credence and credibility to the things that I say that a book has from the 1920s. If you feed evil, it perpetuates. If you wish shame, blame, and want others harmed, you are perpetuating the evil. I say this all the time, but like, has anything fucking changed? Please explain to me what has manifested. All the lists are coming out, and this is coming out, and all of that crap that's great. What is it doing for you? Validating your ego? Oh, well, the kids. I understand that. Don't think I don't, but the harm has already been done. Justice is taking a really long time for those families and those kids that have had that issue go on for centuries, decades, eons. Harm's been done. If you want a beautiful world, you have to think beautiful thoughts. You have to put in the righteous effort. If you were thus said Jesus, if you were given the power, how would you act? Act as if you were a guide, you were an angel. Act as if you can't pretend or imagine yourself knowing that what you are is more than this body, then act as if. How would you go about your everyday life? Like an asshole? Or a person that lives in a heart-centered space, rational and logically, speaking beautiful things into the world, spreading your light, being the GPS signal, helping the grid manifest itself. That's what most of us want. But you have to believe that that's what you are. Embrace it, embody it, apply it, emote it, walk it, talk it, and exude it. And that's not ego. That's knowing what you are. The I am, the capital I, not the lowercase I with the dot. You're an awareness, and we're all on different levels of that wavelength, but that doesn't necessarily matter. You're aware enough to do the right thing, to be the right person, to be righteous, to walk that path of love, to deal with your trauma, to forgive, to have compassion. You could do all these things, but apply it in your life. Just don't walk willy-nilly and claim all this shit, and then you're bastardizing half of the world. You're judging others for their appearance. You're judging people for their choices. That's not for you to judge. So stop. It, this work has dropped into my lap for a reason. It's not only a validating point for me to know that what I'm saying someone else wrote, just verbiage differently. It's outlining the things that I've been saying because it's coming from the universe, coming from source itself. Act as if you are Yeshua walking amongst the humanity, trying to see the light in the darkness. People who are perpetually spewing because they're reading into narratives and programs on either side. At some point, when are you going to take a step back and see the show for what it is? They tell you it's a movie, so why are you reacting to it to manifest for them? We keep perpetuating the same cycle because you're not seeing the cycle in the first place. I didn't see it either for a long time, and now I see it, so I don't act on it anymore. I don't participate in it anymore. I have to live my everyday life. I have to thrive. I have to strive to get better, be better. And that's what I'm working on as a human being each and every day in each and every one of the lives that are concurrently happening right now. I'm living righteously. I'm trying to do right by others. I am doing what I can for others. I'm trying to be a support for others. And others are doing the same back for me. It's a beautiful energy exchange. And we need more of that going on in the world instead of this perpetually carried on a dangling stick. Like, I'm sick and tired of waiting. Oh, this date comes by and long passes. Oh, it didn't happen because this happened. Stop making excuses and stop feeding into that shit. I want everybody to be prosperous and abundant, but it has to come in a righteous way. We need to create a better way of living on this earth, and we need a better way of really taking ownership of our emotional states. Like today, I had a very bad day. Not gonna lie, it was really bad. And not bad in the sense that anything went wrong. I just don't feel respected or cared about in the ways that my feelings are not being validated. My job is now being, I have to figure out if I'm staying or leaving. I have to get legal counsel. I have to find and do all this extra research because with goodwill and intentions ends up having people advocating and doing things for the wrong placements. And then I'm being forced to do things that I'm not comfortable doing. Well, or I lose my job. So I'm either or having to change a situation in my life. I just hope that I have people that have my back if shit does hit the fan, and pray for better results. That's all I can do. I actually might epoxy this, not just to be hung up on the wall, like you can use it. once I get these photographed properly, because oil paint and Mod Podge has a sheen that I have to get specific lighting for. But a lot of this stuff will be on my website. Please support my artwork, um, my channel and everything. Thank you all for showing up and being amazing people in my life. I don't have many. I'm a little island by myself right now, just treading water, sinking down a little bit. But I used to be a lifeguard, so I can say I could tread for a long, well, maybe now, I don't know. I haven't been in a pool for a long time. It'll kill me, but I could tread. So I want to thank everybody for showing up today. I will be live tomorrow, as I don't even know what time, day. I don't even care anymore. I'm just so done. Um, Sending each and every one of you love, like a passion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within. I'm doing it right now. Go within. Align with your heart. Be the shoulder. Be the lighthouse. Seed your truths. And I really, truly hope I see you guys on the next one. I hope to see you guys tomorrow for Friday Night Live. Don't know what time yet. It's usually between 5 and 5:30. Um, we'll see how my energy is. I will go into what's going on, and yeah, really excited. So thank you all. Have a great night. Have a blessed day. Bye for now.